your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rockfin, Rumble, all the places where fine podcasts are sold. I can't believe it's going to be Christmas in 10 days. You're probably thinking to yourself, am I going to have a chance to see Chrissie Mayr do stand-up before the end of the year? Yes, you are. If you live in New York City or in the surrounding area, come see me December 29th at Stand Up New York. My good friend Gino Bisconti is having his birthday party there. It's going to be a stand-up show featuring myself, Gino, and a lot of the familiar faces from Compound Media that you know and love. Also, in the beginning of February, first weekend of February, I'll be in Rochester, New York at the DabbleCon. That is, if you're a fan of Stuttering John, if you're in the Dabbleverse, come to Rochester, New York, the first weekend in February, the 3rd and 4th. Comedy at the Carlson will be hosting a stand-up show, live podcast tapings, a meet and greet, and the first ever Dabby Awards. Who knows? It's going to be a shit show. It's going to just be a lot of fun for sure. I know Anthony Cumia will be there. Carl. I'm not sure if Bob Levy is going, but come check it out. What else are you doing in early February? Then at the end of February, the 24th and 25th, I'll be headlining in San Diego at the Mic Drop Comedy Club. Come on out. If you're more of a warm weather person, come to the San Diego show. For tickets, go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com, please and thank you. And before I bring on my gorgeous guest, I'm going to do a quick little shout out to our sponsor for this episode. Can I do it by myself? I think I can. We have Christmas music, but I'm just going to bring up this regular music. Guys, the holidays, I'm going to change it to a Christmas song. This is what happens when I have to DJ my own. This is depressing too. But you know what? That's fine. The holidays are depressing for some people. Guys, the holidays are here. Maybe you're not a holiday person. Maybe you're not a Christmas person. Maybe you have the pre-Hanukkah blues. I don't know. Maybe you have maybe you get anxious around the holidays. But guess what? That's where Cushy Dreams is here to help. Cushy Dreams is #1 for smokable CBD flower and Delta 8. Their stuff helps me with relaxation, sleep, feeling good, and more. But not only do they have these wonderful CBD pre-rolls in different blends like Dream, Peace, Hustle, Create, etc. So whatever you want to do with your day, probably Cushy Dreams has a pre-roll to help you out with that. So not only do they have these pre-rolls, but they have these kick-ass gummies. Delta 9 THC gummies. They light up your brain like a glorious Christmas tree. They make you feel giggly, warm, fuzzy, awesome inside, taking away your holiday blues. Delta 9 THC gummies. Each gummy has 10 milligrams of THC. It's the real deal OG THC, and it ships legally right to you. And they come in 4 euphoric flavors like strawberry, sour watermelon, green apple, and tangerine. I really like the apple flavor, but I'm going to try all of them. Don't you worry. Go to cushydreams.com. That's KUSHY dreams.com. Get yourself some pre-rolls. Get yourself some hemp flour. Get yourself some Delta 8 gummies. There's a cool artist series going on right now. If you're into art, check it out. At the checkout, use promo code CMP to get 20% off your next order. Good on your first order, second order, etc. Get your gummies today with promo code CMP and get your 20% off. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Am I selling this? I don't know. Wee! Oh my gosh, so fun. Cushy dreams, boys and girls. Okay. I'm going to continue the theme of feeling good here on the show tonight and bring on a extremely decorated performer. My God, I was in awe with all of the credits that this gal has. She's been in Playboy, Penthouse, Rolling Stone, Muscle and Fitness, Cosmo. She is in the AVN Hall of Fame. In 2022, she won Favorite Dom, which is an AVN fan award. She will be appearing at a trade show coming up actually in the very beginning of January, which she will tell me all about. But I think it's Wednesday, January 4th through Saturday, January 7th. She'll be signing at the AVN booth, walking the red carpet, all that good stuff. She is up for M.I.L.F Performer of the Year this year for AVN. Welcome to the show, the beautiful and talented Brittany Andrews. Hello, aka DJ Britstar in the house. You're also a DJ. You're a triple threat.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, the rest is her story. Thank you for having me on your show this evening. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. My goodness, are you someone who gets stressed at the holidays? I'm finding I'm having a very hard time buying gifts for men in my life, but I could just be overthinking it.
You know, I've never been a holiday person. I definitely would have been somebody in the past that I've been like, get me some of those creative cushies or something. But right now I barely am even having time to like breathe because, as you were saying, there is a trade show that's happening January 4th through 7th, and then another one the 6th through the 9th, and then another one the 9th through like the 15th. So there's just so much that I'm putting together right now for those 3 different shows that are happening right after Christmas that my mind is barely even into the holidays because I've never been much of a holiday person anyways. I'm just going to go to LA for a couple of days and see some family, fly over, fly back, and that's it. And then I'm already like very busy.
And where are all these trade shows? Are they all for AVN?
So the first one is AVN, which is in Las Vegas, which I live in Las Vegas. So that is nice.
Oh, wow. Okay. My sister's out there. My friend REJ. I got a couple friends out in Vegas. It's one of the, I guess, like hubs for adult film stars and just like media people in general. I feel like a lot of cool people live in Vegas.
I think it's because it's so close to LA. You know, it's like I go back and forth between LA and Vegas all the time. It's a 3.5-hour drive. The majority of the time, that is why I'm flying around the holidays, because I have done that drive back from right after Christmas multitudes of times. And it's like 9 hours instead of 4. So I'm like, you know what, bitch, I'm taking the plane this time, girlfriend, because I got stuff to do when I get home, a lot of stuff to do. So, but yeah, I think it's probably because it's a quick, drive back and forth between LA, and LA is, there's so much traffic, and I just, in my life, I'm at that age where I don't have like the patience to deal with it anymore.
I hear you. I'm from Long Island originally, and I went back recently to get a copy of my birth certificate so I can get married. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, no wonder my family couldn't wait to get the hell out of here. Like I live, a bit upstate now in Westchester, right, but I hadn't been to Long Island in years. And I was like, funny. Oh my God, the traffic is really so bad.
Yeah. And it's like, I lived in LA for 15 years. Then I lived in Manhattan for 10 years. So 25 years of like that crazy kind of traffic. I'm like, you know what? Vegas, you can get anywhere within 20, 25 minutes. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
Vegas is fun. Vegas is great. Do you ever what do you say to the people who are like, oh, Vegas is only good for like a weekend and then you kind of tire of it? But that's, I guess, if you're on the trip full blast.
This is how I feel about that. It's one of those things of where I always say I feel the exact opposite about Manhattan and Vegas. So I love traveling to Manhattan and spending time there, but I hate living there. And Vegas is the opposite. I hate traveling to Las Vegas, but I love living here. So
Ooh,
it's
okay.
like the opposite of the tourist experience. You know, one, I prefer the tourist experience in Manhattan. I hate living somewhere where I got to take freaking taxi cabs and trains and there's snow and I'm freezing. Sorry, I know you're on the East Coast, but
Yeah.
I'm not that girl. I'm a blonde bitch. I'm like, I'm good over here with the sun and the tan and and I get a
Oh,
car.
yeah. I
Like,
miss
I
the
li I like
vitamin D for
yeah, I
sure.
like having a car and not having to schlep stuff around. So, and yeah, I'm just not into Four Seasons. So, yeah, but you know what? Vegas is very quiet. Like when I tell people that I moved to Las Vegas from Manhattan, I say, you know, I remember talking to one of my shrinks in Manhattan and saying, you know what? And God bless, I've had a lot of different shrinks. I was like, you know what? I think if I move to Vegas, somewhere where it's quiet and peaceful, I might not be so stressed out. Duh. But I didn't know that. And yeah, you know, it's so peaceful here. It's so quiet. You know, most of Las Vegas is like a big suburb. And yeah, that's just where I'm at in life right now. So
That's great. Did you really live, like, in Manhattan? I lived in Brooklyn, Queens, but never in Manhattan.
yeah, I know I lived on like 33rd and 5th, right across the street from the Empire State Building.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I lived on 42nd and 11th. So
Okay.
right outside of Times Square, a couple of blocks. So I lived in Manhattan proper.
And you lived in it, like, at a really honestly, the best time because now it's kind of like, I think it's gonna take maybe another 8 years for New York City to get back to where it was pre-pandemic. Like, yes, there's hustle, there's tourism right now, there's holiday hustle and bustle, but I say to people, "Don't let that fool you." Like, it's gonna take a while for the city to bounce back, and I'll never forget taking photos, like, right in the midst of the pandemic, like, having absolutely no one on the streets, no one in Grand Central. It was really nuts. So I assume you spent it, in Vegas, which probably
I
was
did,
a
which
good place to be.
I was very happy because the things that are important to me, tanning, getting my nails done, getting my hair done, going to restaurants, I could do all of those things. And everybody that I knew that was in New York and LA, they were all fucked. They couldn't get their nails done. I'm
No!
like I'm like, "How do you live without getting your nails done?"
It was horrible. It was I tried to wax myself with like a d with like a CVS home waxing kit. It was horrible. Like, and then
Yeah.
I had to just grow dreadlooks down there. I was like,
Yeah,
"Well,
exactly.
I
It's
guess
a
I'm just"
it's
yeah.
it was a pandemic phase. It was a trend in porn.
Was it really? Was there pandemic porn?
Rastafari twate.
Oh my god. Were you was there a did you notice, like, did you continue to make a lot like, get a lot of work, or do you feel like, I've heard different stories, like, it's all about who you work with, if you're more independent, some girls could keep working through the pandemic, like, but for you, were you able to stay pretty busy?
Well, right before the pandemic, I had like a litany of different things that had happened. I had a posterior lumbar interbody fusion of my L5S1 and a laminectomy. So I had major back surgery.
Whoa.
And then it was AVN in January, right? And during it was like right before AVN started, and that was when it was like at the end of January. I had gotten an eviction notice from my landlord, the house that I had been living at for 5 years since I moved to Vegas. They were renovating the house and they wanted me out because they were going to sell it. Well, mind you, I couldn't even bend, lift, or twist yet from my back surgery. So I had to have my doctor like intervene and say, hey, she needs like another 30 days. Right. And so this was like out of nowhere. And, I had a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. So it's like not like a small, it's not like a Manhattan apartment. Right. Like, there was a lot of shit to move. And so then sure enough, I ended up having so you got February, then March, right? So March is after February. So they wanted me originally to move February 28th. but instead they gave me March 31st. Well, we went into lockdown March 18th. So I was moving in the middle of the lockdown, and I just moved into like a bigger house because I just done a comeback into porn, and I was thinking I was super fabulous. And pretty much everything that I was doing was in person. The DJing, I also did real estate at that time, the filming. So pretty much my entire income collapsed overnight, and I had nothing. And of course, as part of the bill that they had, that was for people getting financial aid during the pandemic. Literally, in the first paragraph, it said if you were a sex worker, you could not get any money from the government. And I'm like,
wow.
And I've been in the business 31 years. I'm like, y'all,
wow,
over $1 million of my money. Over $1 million of my money. I've never asked for a motherfucking thing. And the one time that I'm going to need it, you're like, no, fuck you. And I'm like, no, fuck you.
And imagine how many government workers partake in porn, and you know what I mean? And like how many politicians. It's like, it's so
and then
wild.
how it became such a normal thing to do during the pandemic, right? Everybody started turning to OnlyFans and becoming a sex worker that way, but yeah, so that's what I did as well. I moved into this house, and I had to figure out, how to become an online sex worker, which I just had never done it. So I started off with like webcamming first, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to like shoot myself in the head if I have to like do this every day. It just wasn't my jam. I have a lot of girlfriends that love it, bless their soul. It's just not my thing. And so then I started doing the OnlyFans thing, and a couple other like fan platforms like Loyal Fans, Fansly. Well, the whole Loyal Fans, Fansly thing then happened, of course, when most people had heard that OnlyFans kind of turned their back on sex workers. At that point, then a lot of us started going on multiple other platforms, and then also on like clip platforms as well. So like MiniVids, I Want Clips, Clips for Sale, that type of thing. So I really had to learn all this stuff like overnight. I had been retired from doing adult for like 10 years, like a pretty straight 10 years, and so I wasn't really well versed on anything. So it was like a huge learning curve, like really quick, like really fast. And in the beginning I really thought, oh, I am not built for this. I don't have what it takes. It was probably like the first time ever in my life that I started like second guessing myself and my talents. And because it was really not something that I had planned on doing or wanted to do. Like every business venture I've done in my life, it's because I thought about it and then I made strides like slowly to like do something. Where this was like, bitch, all options done. Do this now. Figure it out. And it was like,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't my jam. So I didn't have like the passion for it in the beginning either. But I ended up like having another model kind of jump into the pool with me, and her and I really kind of chipped away at it. And, I'm just so blessed that, I had her, in the beginning of the pandemic to, more than anything, just motivate me to like do something that I really wasn't interested in doing. And, and I'm very grateful because it's become an extremely financially rewarding business for me now today, so yeah. So, I mean, in the beginning, it was pretty, it was like everybody else. I had to pivot, a lot of entrepreneurs just had to pivot their business from being retail, more or less, to being online. And, and you had to be persistent. You had to fail. You had to make mistakes, fall on your face. But I think that a lot of us that probably prevailed and kept at it, ended up, adding a whole new aspect to our business that we didn't have before that, at least for me, it's been very successful. So I'm grateful.
It's really impressive that you were able to pivot in your industry. I think similarly to comedy, the adult industry, like you kind of, came up in this industry. I don't know if this was the beginning of your career, like getting into your origin story. You met Jenna Jameson in Jamaica. And that did you kind of hit it off? Like, did she sort of scout you? Were you thinking about getting involved at all prior to meeting her, or did she kind of, kick it off for you?
Actually, yes, like right before I had met her, I was in New York and I was doing my first ever photo shoots with a photographer there by the name of Warren Ting. And I got like 7 magazine covers in my first, shoot that I did that week. I was there with him shooting like every day. And during that time, I did the Robin Bird show for the first time. Being that you're a New Yorker, I'm sure you probably know who the Robin Bird show is.
Yes, and you did Howard as well, right?
Not quite yet at that time.
Okay.
At that point, I just done my first, magazine layouts, and I'd done Robin Bird. And then from those magazine layouts that I had done, Cheery and High Society magazine asked me if I would like to go to Jamaica for spring break. And it just happened to be that Jenna was my roommate that week.
Wow.
And when I was on the Robin Bird show, I was asking other porn stars, like, how do you get into porn? And I was asking the photographer, how do you get into porn? And she was like, girl, you need to just move to LA. You can live with me and da 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 da. And it was so funny because I was supposed to be moving to Hollywood, Florida with my mother at that time. And I remember calling her up from Jamaica and going, Mom, we're moving to Hollywood. And she's like, yeah, babe, I know. I'm like, California. And she's like, what? I think to the day she died, she was pissed off at me about that. But so then I moved to LA. I moved in with Nikki Tyler, Jenna Jameson, and Nikki Tyler's husband at that time. And and the rest is her story.
And I just noticed your puppy on your lap. Oh,
yes, my little Bella Boo.
Bella. How old is she?
She's 12. She's an old, skinny, dominant bitch, just like her mommy.
Oh, she's so cute. Is she part Chihuahua, part?
And she's got a great pedicure, just like mommy does too.
Oh my God. I have to do a solo layout so you can show off the nails. Look at her nails.
Yes.
Oh my God. She's so cute.
Kitty has got the pedicure too. I've got a cat as well. And the cat and the dog go and get pedicures every pretty much as often as I do, like every 5-6 weeks.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so that's really neat. You were roommates with Jenna Jameson. It didn't seem like you were shy about jumping into the industry because you had this exotic dancing background and you were like, I got this.
Yeah, it was funny because I was actually in a porn store with my mother because we were getting some of the magazines that I had just shot. And I picked up an AVN magazine and I gave it to my mom. And I said, Mom, this is what I'm planning on doing next. And she goes, well, I better look at this so I know what you're getting into.
Were you an only child?
I definitely not an only child, but my siblings were much older than me. And they, it was the same mother and father. But my brother and my sister are 16 and 17 years older than me.
Okay.
So I was pretty much raised as an only child.
But your mom sounded like she was pretty accepting and not judgmental.
My mom was not judgmental. She was very supportive. She worked my phones in the beginning when I first started my business in LA. I had a 5,000 square foot studio downtown LA that I rented out for photo and film for 15 years. So a lot of people in the adult industry back in the day actually even knew my mom. And it was funny because, I used to do these big, kind of events at the studio to advertise the studio space that it was for rent. And I would, have I'd have an open bar, I'd have, food, I'd have valet, I'd have DJs, I'd have go-go dancers, the whole 9 yards. And, one time I was I had a dungeon in the studio and I was double fisting somebody in the dungeon.
As you do.
As you do, exactly. And, and someone was like, do you know what your daughter is doing downstairs? And my mom is like, whatever, I don't care. I'm just so proud of my daughter. And I'm like down there double fisting somebody.
You're like, you call it double fisting. I call it multitasking. We are all different.
Girlfriend. I love that. That's fabulous. But yeah.
And that was Britco Pictures
Yes,
studio
Britco
in LA.
Pictures. Yeah. And, I'm sure my mom probably wished maybe I would have done something else. But, she knew that I enjoyed what I did. I was professional. I was good at it. I paid my taxes, took care of my family, took care of myself. And I think if parents, that's what they want. They want you to be happy and like living your best life. And I think that she saw that that's what I was doing. And so therefore she was supportive.
That's really good. I mean, I've talked to so many girls where they just like their family will disown them. The family like pretends they have no idea what they do for work. So
I think, I think it's a huge part of my success, over the years and being able to have longevity, just having that foundation of where I never had to feel any kind of guilt or shame or anything of that nature about what I do. I think really, gave me a healthy foundation to be able to be somebody that's in this business for a long time and to be happy in it a long time.
Yeah. And I'll say that too. Like I'll meet girls that I feel like, okay, not everyone is built for this business. And I think when you're someone and who even knows, like it's not a business I'm in, but I just feel like I definitely can see and like when I talk to like girls that are like, okay, they are going past their limit. And I feel like that's when things start to get toxic is when when you let yourself go past what you're comfortable with and you feel like, I don't know,
I
you
agree.
have to stay in it, you can't do anything else. But it's really not for everyone. Like just because you're hot and you look good and it's like you need to have a lot more.
I think what you just said is really important. And it goes back to that shrink thing that we were talking about before. I've had many shrinks, and all of my shrinks have said I have always been really good with healthy boundaries. And so I never did do anything literally I've been in the business 30 years and I just did my first ever DP.
Director of photography. No.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's like, there's so many things I still have never even done. And like, it'd be so funny because, I always say I've got all these different cards in my back pocket that I've yet to play. And, I'll be sitting there next to somebody signing next to me at AVN and they've been in the business for like 6 months.
Wow.
And they've played all their cards. They've done the DP, the
wow. Okay.
DP, the double, all the blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's obviously somebody that hasn't even been in the business long enough to really probably make the best decisions for their career or for their mental health. Right. And I do believe that over the years of being in this business for a long time, that's the number one thing that I see that most of the models have a difficult time with is exactly that. Doing things that they didn't know was going to make them uncomfortable later.
And it's almost like it's novelty is inherent part of the business. So it's like if you like blow through all like the kind of like the high moments, like it's always like it just seems like
where do you go now?
Not that you want to hold out as long as you can. I guess everyone's
exactly.
different,
30 years is a lot, but
but there are definitely high points. There's definitely like moments where people take notice, like, oh, whether it's first like interracial or first anal or first like DP or first like gangbang or whatever. And
I'm out a little bit. So you got press releases for a couple of years.
Right. And it's like if you do it all, you feel the pressure, like I have to keep performing and I do all these things inside of a couple of years. Well, then I wonder if people would just be like, yeah, we've seen her do it all. Like we're gonna move on.
kind of done. Yeah. And I just feel like that's somebody that's probably listening to somebody else that's a people pleaser, that once again doesn't have those healthy boundaries. I mean, you have fans out there that are just so persistent of like, do the DVP, do the interracial blowjob, bling, 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 boom, bada, bing, bada, doom, all these different things that they want you to do. And, I just tell them, bug off. I'll do it if I want to. But I don't think that everybody has got that aspect of their personality where they can say no and consistently keep saying no and persistently keep saying no, because it's always like the pressure is always on you to do this, to do that, to do that. So, I mean, it's just well known that there's a lot of people that, it's not something that you're quite often taught in life to have healthy boundaries. And I think it's something that quite often people don't learn in life until, they get to be much older, like mid-30s, sometimes even later, mid-40s,
Yeah, I feel like so much of the adult industry is about people pleasing. And if you are inherently a people pleaser, it's going to be so easy for you to be pushed
Yes,
to
to
do
do
kind of
things that
whatever.
maybe you don't even realize are not the healthiest for you yet.
Yeah. And I think you've just done a really great job with adjusting, because you kind of came up at a different time for the industry when it was all about like, okay, you get signed, you get on Howard Stern, and then
You
you just
weren't
get
being
slapped with.
pressured. Yeah,
Yeah,
you weren't being pressured to do all the type of thing. I mean, nobody even did anal back then. You were like a dirty
really.
whore. You were like a dirty whore if you did anal,
When did the anal trend start? I feel like mid-aughts, like 2000, maybe 5.
So I retired 2006.
Okay.
So, and then, so like the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, I was out and I didn't come back in again officially for real until 2018. I stepped my toe in like during those like 10, 11 years. I probably did maybe eight films or something. I did a few. I did like maybe 3. And then when I first moved to Vegas, because I was always a condoms only performer, I moved to Vegas and I said, you know what, I want to get back into doing films. And I did a couple of films then that were all condom. And I just realized that the business was no longer allowing anybody to use condoms, and that if I wanted to actually get any work, that I would have to become non-condom.
That
And I
seems
just wasn't.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everyone should be working how you're working. Like, what? I don't know. Is it just because of the looks? Like, people don't, it ruins the fantasy to like see the condom. Was that?
Well, I could talk about this for hours because I'm very passionate about it, because obviously I did do a comeback. And so I had to make a choice after being condoms only for over, 20 years to go non-condom. And I'm still unhappy about it. I'm very unhappy about it. But yeah, I think primarily it comes down to that men don't like condoms, and that's it.
Yep. That's
It's still a man's world. It's still a man's world. This is a business where it's primarily men that are the distributors of content, and it's primarily men that are the watchers of the content. So, and I do believe that they do a really good job in this particular business of brainwashing the talent to think that. And I don't know how the talent thinks this. I know a lot of them don't, but a lot of them do think that it's better without condoms.
wow.
And it's like, let's just talk about bacteria vaginitis for a moment. The way you get bacteria vaginitis is by having.
Sorry, guys that are listening.
Yeah, exactly. It's by having sex with multiple partners without condoms and douching, which is pretty much the damn job of a porn
Right.
star.
It messes with your pH. Being with a lot of different people messes with your balance.
Yes.
It's like, it's just, you're
And then you
introducing
add
a lot of different
females
elements
into that.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it's just I've had a very angry pussy ever since I've gone back with my condoms. She's angry. She's not happy, man. I was talking about my cat, of course. I'm sure you could hear her. She wants to go outside.
Yes, she's always clawing at the couch, always scratching at it. Damn, that kind of sucks that there's this pressure on performers. I think if you're a new performer, you're probably like, whatever I have to do to establish myself, kind of like with any job, you'll kind of lower your guard, your boundaries to get ahead, to make sure you're solid. It just seems like they're kind of taking advantage of women because is it a discussion? Is it a worry about STDs and what you were mentioning before? Because is it kind of like at the point where nobody's using condoms in the industry anymore?
I feel like nobody's using condoms at all anymore anywhere, right? Because
Wow.
because I mean the thing about it is I'm an old bitch, right? I'll be 50 this year.
I
Like,
can't believe that. You look so good. Like when you said 30 years in the business, I was like, what?
So, I mean, I grew up in the 80s when people were dying from HIV, and I was always what was called back then. It's probably not politically correct anymore, but I don't know the new terminology. Maybe you could school me. But I was always a fag hag,
Same.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was always the one that was running around with bags of condoms with all my gay friends and trying to make sure that everybody was using condoms. They all called me mommy when I was 19. I was already a fucking M.I.L.F.
Wow.
And but yeah, so nowadays you've got like two generations, I think. Well, at least one generation, probably like millennial ones and Generation Z. Like they've never even seen porn with condoms in it. Nobody's dying from HIV anymore.
Wow.
And I just don't think that people take, the use of condoms seriously as much anymore. And I do think that that puts a lot of women at a disadvantage. It can be difficult to get men to use condoms, and men just hate them to death. But then we end up, having the consequences because of the way the vagina is built. It's like a little cubby hole that just wants to have all kinds of different microbes in it that want to live.
It absorbs everything that's going on, I guess.
So I actually just found this one company called Evie that I've been using, and it's something you can't even get at your gynecologist. And it does like a whole microbe
Oh, wow.
test. So you can see exactly all the different aspects of your pH and everything that's in your vajayjay, so that you can work with like a doctor because in the business you've got women that are using peroxide, Yakult,
Borax. I've heard
all
like
this
women
shit
will
they're
throw a
shoving in their
borax up there.
cunt. And it's like there's got to be a better scientific way than to do this. And it's funny because I just got my package from Evie today, and you know what, women weren't even included in any scientific studies until 1993.
Wow. Then what were they basing it off of?
Only men.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it is crazy. So even I think they said it's something like for women to get diagnosed with the same thing that a man is diagnosed with, it takes women 4 to 5 years longer to get diagnosed with something because we're just so far behind on medical. And then you're talking about medical for sex workers, forget about it, So, but yeah, let's talk about something more tasty.
Have you ever faced, because I've talked to Stoya is the first example I think of, and a couple other girls in the industry who have had their bank accounts shut down. Chase is the example that keeps coming up. Chase is big into shutting down the bank accounts of girls in the industry.
I'm very heavily into crypto. I'm very heavily into crypto because I've been debanked from PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Chase Bank. I've been debanked from like everywhere. And so, I'm Spank Made of the Year, which is for Spank Chain, which is a blockchain that processes adult payments online. And then I'm also a partner in Pornverse, which is like a porn metaverse. Also, I'm part of Vice World DAO. I'm a partner on that particular crypto project, blockchain project as well. I invest heavily in crypto. I go to a lot of crypto conventions, just because I feel like as a sex worker, it's really important. when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency, I was, reading an article today about Argentina and Iran and all these different places that are making crypto work for them because they have to. And there's just different aspects of, cryptocurrency that really is made like for the underdog. And in this particular circumstance, the sex worker is the underdog, right? We fit in with the Iranians and the Argentinians. Who would have known?
Wow,
Right?
who would have thunk?
Who would have known? But it's true, and it's really sad because it's like, am I the criminal? Like, I'm over here like just shoving dildos in my butt.
Yeah, just minding your own
I'm
business.
selling my socks and my boots. It's like, come on, like I really think that that they could be using the American taxpayers' money on something a lot more worthwhile than coming after individuals like myself and going after us, because you know what, then quite often it does push people into then trying to have to do illegal things. You're pushing people into a place to where they can't survive, they can't pay their bills. So I am glad that cryptocurrency is here right now, but the government at the moment, if you are a sex worker and you are using crypto, they're very not superstitious, but paranoid about you. And I do know quite a few of my girlfriends that have had a difficult time with law enforcement recently, with just trying to survive using crypto, because we've all been debanked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crypto is still very mysterious to me, so I like that it's working for people. I just feel like the government is too involved in our shit, and to the degree that we can take back our power, our money, anything without involving them, I'm about that. It's just interesting you talk about like being debanked and coming after girls in the industry. Our mutual friend, this was something I talked about a couple months ago. Gigi Dior was hit by a lawsuit from Christian Dior Couture. I think this is just insane. I haven't talked to her about this in a while, so I'm not sure the status of her lawsuit, but it's just unbelievable to me that Christian Dior would actually like try to sue Gigi. I think I met her.
How many how,
Exotica, I think in maybe Chicago or Virginia.
how many
Uh,
kids does she have?
I think 3 or
Ex
4.
Exactly. Like, leave
Yeah,
the damn woman alone. She's just trying to, survive and take care of her kids. It's like, Christian Dior,
yeah.
come on, do better. Do better. It's really sad in my humble opinion. It's just, this particular business is made up of a lot of really beautiful, spiritual, good women that are all paying their taxes, they're taking care of their family. I'm my sister's legal conservator for 20 years. She's got mental health problems. I took care of my mother for
Wow.
16 years who had polio. There's so many just beautiful human beings in this business that just are thoroughly harassed for no other reason than some bullshit moral standard by who?
Right. I don't think anyone's confusing Gigi Dior with
With Christian Dior,
Grumpy.
exactly. Hello, boo.
Grumpy taking the curtains off your wall and throwing them on your body. Designer. Mega frump. Yeah, Gigi is such a sweetheart. I really adore her, and I think they're just trying to make an example of her, and they're probably assuming that she doesn't have the money to fight back.
I
So
don't know.
I
Most
just think
people with 4 kids don't.
yes, 4 kids under 12.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, it's just so not cool. And I didn't even know her when I stood up for her. A friend of mine, actually from Florida, who's a bean counter, reads Page 6 all the time, and he sent it to me, and I just thought it was such bullshit. And I stood up for
Wow.
her on Twitter, and and then I just met her for the first time at Exotica, and she was like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
the next right thing." It's standing up for another, female, just doing the best to take care of herself and her family.
Do you feel like, and I don't even know, do you feel like there's you've been able to form like good friendships in the industry, like good co-working relationships? Do you feel like it's been cutthroat, or it depends on where you're at in your career?
It's been very interesting for me because 30 years is a long time, right? And even though I was retired for 10 of those years, I was still utilizing Brittany Andrews, like the brand, in different ways. I was on the East Coast, I was in New York. And a lot of the people that I had in my life still looked at me as Brittany Andrews. So maybe I wasn't performing in films, but I was still, Brittany Andrews. And but I really did take a proper amount of time to step away, like, from the limelight, from that perspective of being on the West Coast and kind of being enmeshed in the business the way that I am again now. And so when I came back in, I really had a different perspective. And I've known a lot of these people now for like 25 years. And we all participate in this business that, even though it's very, financially, commercially, it's very commercial as far as it makes a ton of money. Everybody's watching it. It's still a relatively, especially coming from the era that I do, a smaller family business kind of vibe, right? And they share an understanding with me that, like, nobody else will ever understand. And I'm definitely trying harder to cultivate, like, gratitude and vulnerability and intimacy within those relationships in a way that I couldn't do when I was younger, that I'm trying to do now, because I now realize how special and unique that this kind of place of, like, being a legendary porn star is. Not a lot of us get to make it to like kind of be legends. A lot of us just fall to the wayside to get married, whatever. But for those of us that are still around, like, doing this thing, to hug them, to appreciate them, to respect that we've gone and trudged down the same road together a really long time. It's a really beautiful thing, and I'm really grateful for it now.
Who are your closest friends in the industry? Like, whether you've worked with them or just like on a personal level?
Well, I like Shay Seitz a lot. She's a total sweetheart. Trying to think of, Cinnamon Love. Me and her have known each other for a really long time. We've had our ups and downs, but that's what creates, an even more respectful bond over many years. Um, a lot of my friends are on the BDSM side. So Tara, Indiana, Damon Pierce, a lot of these, I've known Damon for like 25 years. So yeah, so I've got a lot of different people that I've known, but I wouldn't say, I've made a lot of super close female relationships in the business, like maybe some people might think.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just like a little bit, competition is always a little bit of a thing. So it's like you have
I
good
think,
co-working relationships, but it's like maybe it's
yeah,
hard to get close.
I think for me, I just never felt in my youth, right? Like, I was on the same wavelength. I had my studio, I was producing, directing, I had 30 websites back then. I was always more into other entrepreneurs that were in the business, which were back then everybody that was on the tech side. So, like, I'd go to the Phoenix Forum and Internext and all of the techie things, and that's where I made and developed a lot of my relationships. And a lot of the female relationships were other executive women that were working in internet companies back then. I just I was never somebody that wanted to be an actress. I always
Mhm.
wanted to own my own business, and I did. And so that was where my mindset was entrepreneurship, business owner, and a lot of other talent at that time. Now it's different. Now, to be a content creator, you've got to be a business owner. You've got to understand how to run a podcast, how to do your marketing, how to do your social media, how to edit, how to Photoshop, how to, you've got to know how to do your lighting. Like, I mean, you have to be a producer, a director, a marketer, but back then you just showed up on set, sucked some cock and went home.
The good old days.
The good old days, And so I just, I was very, very ambitious when I was younger. And I just don't think, and I'm still like a very hardcore workaholic. And I do have a hard time developing a lot of relationships because of that. It's like, if somebody wants to see me, they really got to fucking like me, because I'm like booked a month in advance to 2 months in advance, like trying to get it. Like, I had a friend today said, I'm going to the Cosmopolitan for lunch. And I'm like, he's like, if you want to join me. I'm like, dude, I'm booked like at least 6 months in advance. He said to me, he goes, I know, I have a better chance of winning the lottery than having lunch with you today. Because I still figured I'd ask. I'm like, sorry.
Do you feel like that's a barrier to like almost like intimate relationships? Like, has that hurt your dating life because you're so booked and you're such a hard worker?
And no, what's hurt my dating life is my attitude towards dating. I directed one of the after porn ends on Netflix. And, I really wanted to get into that particular episode that I directed. Alexandria Silk and Luke Wilder, who are a beautiful married couple in the business. And at my age, the majority of the people that I know are in marriages or long-term relationships. But me personally, I'm a bit of a porcupine. I'm not a big relationship person. I am a workaholic. I do use that as an aspect to probably like keep people away to a certain extent, even without knowing it. But I mean, if I want to date somebody, if anything we want in life, if we want to do it, we can make time for it. But I just don't see the value in it. I've got a dog and I got a cat. What more?
How could a man, if there's a man watching, like, how could he really, if he maybe lives in the Vegas area, like, how could he sweep you off your feet? Like, what would impress you? What would make you be like, all right, I'll make myself a little less busy for this guy?
They have to add value to my life. That's it. If you add no value, you're not welcome. So, I have one gentleman that has been courting me, and he has learned how to add some value to my life. And that is something that I appreciate, and I will take notice, and I will allow you little pieces of access into my world. So, but yeah, I'm a difficult one, and I know it.
But you have to keep your guard up because of the industry you've been in for so long.
I don't think it has anything to do with the industry. I just think it's I pay my own bills. I meditate. I got my dog. I got my cat. I love myself very much. I love my life. I'm protecting my mental health, my well-being. Like, literally, if you really are not going to add something better to my already beautiful life, then you don't fit. And that's those very healthy. My boundaries are like, they might be a little bit too much, but yeah, just for me, that's what it comes down to. I'm not somebody that ever gets lonely. I don't need to be obviously in a relationship. If I need to get laid, I know how to get laid, so, and I'm not like a cuddler. I'm like, I'm a little.
Are you a Virgo? What's your birthday?
My rising is a Virgo, but I'm a Leo with a Leo solar sign with a Virgo rising and an Aquarius moon.
You're such a Leo. You're like a boss bitch. That is so Leo.
I'm very Leo. And then my Virgo keeps me extremely organized. I am so beyond. I'm color coding, alphabetizing, label making, Yeah, I'm extremely all of my lids and my bowls are from the, and in the closet, everything is, tank top to long sleeve, texture. Yeah, I'm like way organized.
I organize my closet by color, but then it's all mixed up. And then I have to Marie Kondo the whole thing because there's stuff I haven't worn in a very long time. Like I was told if you put all the hangers like backwards after a year, if one of the hangers is still backwards, you have to get rid of that thing. So
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I do give a lot of stuff to Goodwill. I try to like often kind of take stuff, but then I'm like, oh my God, I could sell this stuff on Poshmark, or a fan is gonna buy
Oh,
it,
I gotta do that. Yeah. Have you ever sold like panties or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I sell my panties all the time. I even shove my panties inside my cunt and then sell it that way too. Ah, ah, ah. I'll
Oh my
take
God.
a video of doing it and send it to you.
Yeah, you you do it all. You were on
Do
the
it
Howard
all.
Stern show 11 times. 2 of the times you were on made the top 25
Yes,
of
yes.
all-time best episodes. Do you
Yep.
remember like what happened during those episodes?
Well, one of them, I had sex with a virgin midget inside of the taxi cab in the middle of Times Square.
A virgin midget? Who was that?
Donald was his
Stuttering John? No.
And what was so funny is nobody gave a fuck in the middle of Times Square, right? I'm like having sex with like this midget in the back of a taxi cab and nobody cares. It's in
Wait,
the
was Stuttering John there during any of your appearances?
I think he
wouldn't know.
was. I don't know. It was so long ago.
What was
And
your
the other,
impression of him?
I don't remember. Like, I don't remember
Yeah.
my 20s. I don't remember my 30s. I don't really remember my 40s.
Okay.
But then, and then the other one I was with Marilyn Manson and Ozzy Osbourne.
Cool. Okay. That's fun. Wow.
Yeah.
How was your impression of Howard? Because you probably were on like when he was still cool before he sold out.
I never liked him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think it was too high maintenance? Like I know he perms his hair.
I
I've never
just
met him though.
felt, once again, like I'm somebody that I've been blessed, right? So, and I'm very aware of that. It has little to do with me. I'm a very spiritual woman. I always thank Mother Goddess She for everything. And, you know, I know how to make fun of myself better than anybody else. I can start with this god awful laugh of mine. It's awful.
Oh, it's cute.
Awful. My voice is awful. And so, I've always been very quick witted. And so, when I was doing the Howard Stern show, he never could get the best of me, right? Like I could always like come back with a zinger or, make fun of myself first. But I saw what he did to a lot of other adult film stars, and I just felt it was abusive, honestly.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
absolutely.
I was not a fan,
Felt it
like,
was
in the
so
heyday.
abusive. I felt, and
Yeah.
looking back now, I was so right. I don't think that anybody would look at that nowadays and not think that it wasn't abusive. It was very shame-based, guilt-based, put down, all this kind of shit. And these were girlfriends of mine. I thought he was an asshole, and I still, whatever. I
Do you
think
think
he's
Howard would just,
I
like he would just have girls on from
I
the
think
industry just to
from
just to make them look bad or try to shame
yeah,
them?
I did. And I think it hurt a lot of women back then. So from what I've heard, he's changed over time, as most of us do. We grow up, we heal our own wounds and start seeing maybe the things that we've done that maybe we could have done a little bit better. But yeah, I've heard that he's changed. But yeah, back then I just thought it was really abusive to a lot of women that really didn't need more of that in their life.
Because I think it's like I do a show on Compound Media where we'll have like adult film stars on, and like we have a motor bunny, which is like a
Oh, I love the motor bunny.
and like I think, and I don't think I've ever had an experience with a girl who left feeling like, oh, like I
Yeah.
felt taken advantage of, because I'm like, I always say to them, like, we have fun, we play, it's completely uncensored, like nudity, say whatever you want, like totally let yourself
Ask
go
women
nuts.
if they've been sexually abused and all the, like it was ugly. There was a lot of shame
Wow.
stuff. They used to do like a pin the tail on the donkey I mean, it was ugh. It was not a
Oh,
good.
like using the girl as the donkey, you mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it just, in my opinion, it was never in good taste. So, I mean, all the stuff I did, I was perfectly fine with because, like I said, I think that's why I've done so well in the business is I've always known how to stand up for myself. I've always had my own boundaries. I can make fun of myself. All of the, I'm a very strong woman. So,
that's good.
yeah. So, I mean, I had a great time with everything that I did, and you can quite often tell the difference. Even like with the after porn ends that I shot for Netflix, that was there was three of them. I was in the second one and then I directed the third one. And there's just different, like real life. There's different stories of, different models and their experiences in the business. Some of them good, some of them bad. And, once again, I feel like, I was really blessed to and I think probably because I always wanted to be a business person more than a star. And then I kind of made my decisions on that.
Yeah, it sounds like you just always wanted to work for yourself,
I did. That's always
Yeah.
from the beginning. That's what I wanted was my own. And it's so funny because I still say it to this day. I just want a smooth running machine. And, 30 years later, I'm still trying to figure out how to have the smooth running machine.
No, that's cool. How do you deal? It seems like you're pretty good with like boundaries and almost like, fan interaction. I mean, there's always going to be like people commenting from social media, but how do you deal with people like, and I deal with this a lot because I have a lot of friends and people on my shows who are in the industry, but I have all types of people on my shows, but I will sometimes get shit like, oh, Chrissy, how can you have girls on that are in the industry that are adult film stars? Like I will get shamed by proxy. I will get shamed by interviewing. And I'm sure that's even more so for someone who's actually working in the industry, not just talking to people who do it. So I just was wondering like how you deal with that. You're probably at the point where it just doesn't faze you anymore.
Well, it's a combination of different things. First thing is, like I said before, I'm very spiritual. I have a mad love affair with myself. And I think that's like, having a good, solid, strong foundation is do you have like self-love, right? And between me and my mother goddess, we're totally fine with what I do. And with my family, they're all fine with what I do. The government is fine with what I do as long as I'm paying my taxes. you know? So, I mean, the opinion of somebody else is none of my business. That's your right to have your opinion on this particular business. I just start having an issue when you start telling me what I can do with my life, right? You can have your opinion. You don't need to watch it. You don't need to participate in it. But once you start telling me, that I can't, or my dog is making weird noises. Whoa. The dog is like farting over there. Sorry. So anyways.
No, both of the dogs in my house have kennel cough right now, which I was this morning Googling, can I get kennel cough? Like, can humans get it? And apparently, if you have a HIV, you can get kennel cough from a dog.
Oh, what a trip.
If you're immunocompromised. I was like, wow.
I've got 2 autoimmune diseases, so I get it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've got lupus and something else called Hashimoto's. But
okay. My friend has Hashimoto's.
yeah, so but yeah, the only time that it really starts getting underneath my skin is typically when one of the beautiful performers in this business passes away and you start getting like trolls on Twitter. And at that point, Mistress Mommy Dominatrix has to come out and whoop a little ass because I am really good at taking motherfucking trolls down. And it's just like, my friends would be like, why are you doing this? Like, don't put yourself down to their like level. And I'm like, you know what, bitch? When I'm in heaven, there better be a couple of motherfuckers that are down there bitch slapping these fucking trolls for me. Because I know some of my girlfriends are like, yo, Brittany, go, bitch. Like from heaven. Like,
stand up for me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just healthy for me just to knock a couple of them down a couple of notches. I don't participate like ever. Okay, maybe some other times I do too. But, I get a little fight in me every once in a while.
No,
I'm really good at it now.
You can't help it.
Exactly. I'm really good at them down.
You've done
So,
a lot of content in, like, the fetish kink world. Do
yes.
you have an interest in that? Do you get into the psychology of it? Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
like it, or you just feel like, "I'm good at this, I'm gonna keep rolling with it"?
No, I've been into BDSM before I even knew what it was. I started penetrating men's buttholes like when I was like 15 years.
What?
Yes. So,
How?
yeah,
Who? Who,
what's
what, where,
crazy?
when, how?
What's crazy? Okay, yeah, let me give you the who, what, where, when, how. So, what's crazy about it is so back then it was the 80s and we had water beds, right? And
Yes.
and I used to live in like these apartment buildings and I would run around and steal all of these like fluorescent lights and I'd put them in this drawer in one of my drawers underneath my water bed. And I was really into like death metal back then, like, Slayer and, and I was really punk rock, like The Accused and all this, I was like, I had like a hot pink mohawk up to here and I used to write fuck you on the side of my head. And I had my big Batman blue Doc Martens and I was just punk rock bitch and drinking Jägermeister, right?
Yeah. You
And
would
so
have
I
shopped at Hot Topic. Yes.
yeah.
You would have
Well,
been
it was before Hot Topic existed.
was the
And
thing.
so we used to go to Ace Hardware and I would buy like big pieces of metal to like make like cool belts and then I'd like whip men, when I was like 15, I'd drink my Jägermeister, take my belt off and start whipping them in front of my big Slayer black sheet that I had in front of my window. And then I started taking extension cords and like cutting up extension cords to use it for like rope because I didn't know anything about like real BDSM or dildos or anything like that. And I started shoving these light bulbs, these fluorescent light bulbs in guys' butts when I'd have them tied up.
Would
So
it break?
literally, like when I go to Home Depot and I go down that aisle where they've got those fluorescent lights, I stop and I say a prayer to Mother Goddess She and I say, thank you so much for one of them never breaking in anybody's ass.
That could be bad. I've seen some videos of jars breaking in guys' buttholes, but I think that's the goal. Is to have it
Yeah,
break.
no, we weren't trying
Yeah.
to break anything, but I probably did traumatize one or two people. I
Okay.
know one of them on Facebook and he's like blocked me forever.
For putting something in his butt.
I think so. I think,
All right.
yeah, I think
You win
he's
some, you lose some.
right.
So you knew
He was my first ever,
so you knew you were into of course, that's why you win 2022 favorite dom of AVN. That's
Only took me
yeah.
30 years to get favorite dom. But yeah, I've owned a dungeon since I've been like 23. I got a dungeon right over here.
You have a dungeon? How do you own a dungeon?
So this is my dream a genie room here. And
Wow.
then I've got a bimbo Barbie room over there.
Yes.
And then I've got my dungeon over here. So yeah, no, I've always been into BDSM as long as I can remember.
It's kind of like therapy. It's like you have somebody who has a kink, they wanna go someplace mentally, and you're just helping them get there.
Yes, there is a ton of psychology that goes into BDSM and then understanding all of the new kinks and fetishes and especially like I said I have my bimbo Barbie room. So I do a lot of like sissification because I like
What's
bimbofication.
that? Like suffocation?
So I do a lot of I like bimbofication, but typically bimbofication is known to be more for a female submissive. But being I'm a dominatrix, I do bimbofication and sissification at the same time. So I work with a lot of men that are either cross dressers or they are transitioning from male to female. And so being that we now live in the Generation Z era of where there's a lot more gender fluidity. You're just seeing a lot of different, you always see like what's going on in culture being reflected back into BDSM. So it's interesting because even for someone like myself who's been around for a really long time, I'm making sure that I'm still staying in touch with all of the different aspects that's coming from popular culture right now. That's not my generation even anymore, but still having to and enjoying, bringing some of those aspects into my current work that I'm doing. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Has anything ever happened where you like very much judge the person? Has there ever been a request where you were like, oh, I can't do
Poop,
this? Like
poop, poop.
poop. Can't
So
do poop.
yeah, the whole poop thing. I was actually doing a video for my lovely dear friend Tara, Indiana. It was when we first met each other, and she was like, "Yeah, now you got to poop on the guy," and I'm like, "I don't poop. I piss, but I don't poop." And she was like, "Oh, it's fine. We'll do a body double poop." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, we'll just, we'll go in really close. We'll switch you out, da 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 da. Get somebody else to poop for you. Then we'll pull back out." So
A poop double. You're talking about a poop double or a poop hitter.
I've had a poop double. Have you had a poop double? Not many
No,
people have had a
I
poop
would be
double.
terrible at this. I can barely poop regularly, let alone on
know.
command.
And so now that I'm 50, I have to start doing like the yearly colonics, right? And so my gynecologist was like, "Well, you can do it at home. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot faster. You just poop in this like jar thing and then you send it off on UPS, right?" So I'm good friends with the guy that owns scatbook.com. And
Scatbook.
yeah, scatbook.com. And I know so many women that are making money off of their poop and their farts. And I was like, well, maybe I'll start like a scatbook account. And then like once a year when I got to do my, poop in the jar for my colonic, I'll make some money off of that. But
You're
I
talking
still,
about diarrhea though. Like I've had colonics. Like it's not solid.
not
Like
colonic. I meant, what's the other thing? Not the colonic, the
oh, you mean like
colonoscopy.
okay.
Colonoscopy, that's what I meant. Not the
Oh
colonic.
my god.
It's a different
Wow.
part of pooping.
Whatever works. I mean, if someone's willing to buy your poop, use every part of the animal, I always say. Ancient Mariner, thanks for becoming a member. Bradley Burnett, thanks for becoming a member. Demon Microwave, are there any stories that Brittany would be willing to share where she dodged a bullet in terms of avoiding working with sketchy characters?
Well, there is my dear friend Max Hardcore, right? And I've known him for a really long time. And back in the day, it was pretty much known that you stay away, like you do not work for Max Hardcore. And that was another way that I was like really lucky that, I knew Jenna and I knew Nikki Tyler. I had women in the business that, I trusted their advice, for me. And not everybody had people like Jenna Jameson in their corner to say, oh, work for this person or not work for that person. But yeah, I was definitely told not to work for him. And, he was kind of like the ass smasher back in the day. Like he was like one of the only guys that was doing like a lot of anal on women. And I'm kind of known to be the pioneer of pegging. And so me and him always have had a little bit of a like I'm going to bend you over, bitch, and fuck your ass, He's bent over for me a couple of times, but I didn't have a proper strap on at hand. But that, he's kind of known to be a sketchy character, but I still would like to bend him over and shove my cock in his ass because, I just feel like he deserves it.
You just want to be in charge. Yeah.
I am in charge.
You've worked with Seth Gamble, who's also been a guest on this podcast a couple years ago. I think I met him at AVN in Vegas in 2020. I was there and met Seth.
I just did my first DP with Seth, which is
how did you like working with him?
You know what? He's adorable. He's such a sweetheart. You know, I really appreciate a lot of the work that he's done on himself as a human being. You know, he's extremely talented. He's very humble. Come on, baby. Sorry, the dog wants to come up. Come on, you got it, good girl.
Oh, gee, thanks, hugs.
So yeah, no, it was great working with him, especially, you know, for something like your first DP where you're a little bit nervous about the whole situation. He was very gentle, and yeah, and it's nominated for an XBIZ award.
Ooh, which people can vote for right now?
No, that one's not a voting one.
Okay.
That one is a it is what it is. I think it's
Okay.
it's a first ever award. So like it's like scenes that are your first ever, like we were talking about your first ever anal, your first ever interracial. Mine was my first ever DP, and I figure I should just get an award because I waited 30 years. Like
You
that
should.
alone,
The
that
holdout
alone.
award.
Yeah, the
I
whole
wonder if men get typecasted with like DPs or anything particular,
do.
like if
They do.
how they're built is better for certain situations
So
or certain holes.
this is interesting, girlfriend, right? So when I decided to do my first DP, I'm like, okay, who should I work with? And I call up my girlfriend, Shay Seitz, that I was talking about before. And she's like, well, make sure you got a good anchor. And I'm like, what the fuck is an anchor? And she's like, you have to have a good anchor. Like the anchor is the most important part of a DP. And I'm like, what? Oh, what a fuck. So yes.
Is the anchor the regular sex?
There's like 5 guys in the business that do DPs that are known to be anchor DPs. It's the guy that's on the bottom, right? So he's got to kind of like have 2 people on top of him. He's got to be able to like keep wood.
It's like in cheerleading being the base, which I was for many years. You have to be strong. You have to pick people up.
Yeah. So yeah. So who knew there was something I never knew all these years of being born, that there was something called an anchor.
Who's a good anchor?
John Strong is known to be a good anchor. I think it's Mike Stefano, Mick Blue. Those are 3 out of like the 5 that I can think of.
Who did I meet once? Who did I meet at AVN? I freaked out. I got a little starstruck. Manuel. I met him.
Manuel Ferreira. I don't know if he's an anchor or not. I don't
Okay.
think so.
We met at the Dunkin' Donuts. Also, what's her face was there? She's known for her butt.
Drake, not Jessica Drake.
The girl with the butt.
Caden Cross.
No.
That's his wife. I think Caden Cross.
She's like all about her butt. What the hell's her name? Something with an A. She was there at the Dunkin' Donuts. It was just so funny because she was like bending over.
At the Dunkin' Donuts that was inside of the Hard Rock.
Yes.
Got it.
That was like the meetup spot. XSL.
Are you going to AVN this year?
I had no plans to. I mean, I would love to host something there or live stream there. I'll have to talk to Brian or somebody. XSL advice, Chrissie, on directing GG scenes. What is GG scenes?
Girl. So the way that it always works with scenes is, and he forgot, there's supposed to be like a slash in between so it always starts off with the boy. So if you're doing a boy girl, it would be BBG. So if you're doing like a boy girl anal, then it's BBGA. If you're doing a boy girl anal interracial, it's going to be a BBGAIR. So there's like a way that it's always done. It always starts with the boy first, then it goes to the girl, then it goes to anal, and then usually interracial is last.
Bella Danger, that's who I was thinking of. I met her.
So advice on Chrissie directing girl scenes. This is
yes, if I was going to direct it.
This is the biggest advice, right? Because when you're licking pussy in front of a camera, you have to lay your head right on the thigh so that we can get long tongue.
Cheat to the camera.
Yes, you know, you can't be right in front of the pussy with your head in it.
With your big
Because
dumb head
then,
in the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you got to be laying off to the side. Use the tongue, long tongue, long tongue. That's my
So
dress.
it's almost like it looks. I imagine there's a lot of concessions made that like there are things that look good and then there are things that feel good, and those two things don't always line up. I
Never,
imagine like the
never,
things. Yeah.
never, never. There's like nothing I do on film that I would do except my noises, which that's the thing that everybody thinks is fake, which is
Yeah.
the most fucked up thing, right? Because and maybe at one point it was back in my early 20s, but after like 30 years of doing this, like if you fuck me personally, I still go, yes, 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 yes. Like I look at the comments on my Pornhub like videos and they're like, oh, she says yes so much. It's so fake. And it's like, that's what I do in my real
Mm.
sex life too. And now it's got me paranoid thinking like when I'm having personal sex, are they thinking the entire time I'm just porn star faking
Right.
everything?
Sometimes you get repetitive. What percentage do you think of sex you have for work is like where you actually come and you actually like really enjoy it and it's really good?
Ugh.
It's work.
You know, it's very rare. You know, I do like the DP. Like I've done 2 DPs and both of them I've rather enjoyed. Um So that I like, and so I'm probably gonna do more of that, but the only problem is you always get pH, like, really bad pH issues every time, like, and it lasts forever, and you have to take
Damn.
medicine, and it's just awful. So that part sucks, but, you know, if everyone was using condoms, then you would just remove the condom and da 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 da, and you'd be fine, you wouldn't have all these issues.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I'm always gonna be pro condom, and, so I like the DP thing a lot. Naughty America has got some pretty good looking guys. Like Lucas Frost is a good looking guy. Nathan Bronson. Like whenever I'm working with them, but they have like a lot of these other like geeky kids that you're like fucking. Like I've got no sexual attraction to like somebody that looks like they're 12. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they're not
no.
they're not hot, you know? So that's a problem. And then just, you know, like the reverse cowgirl is like the worst, you know, and being I've got big tits, like, you know, they want that with the boobs. And it's like the worst, most uncomfortable. Like back in the day, I was like, I'll give you like literally somebody put a stop clock on this, right? And when I went back into porn, I was working with my personal trainer. I was like, we got to work on my upper thighs because like a lot of these young guys that are like newer performers that work with a lot of older women, they do not know how to perform. They are not like being like when you're
Patient.
working with a professional, like they will hold your body in all different ways and they'll
So you
do
don't have to work so hard.
yeah, but when you got these like young kids, like you're the old bitch and you're the one having to do all the goddamn work.
You're like, hold me up, youngin. Yeah.
Exactly, kid. Get with the program here. Mistress Mommy's almost a gilf. Come on, work it, babe. So
Would you do GILF content?
I have already. I have already.
You're too young and hot to be a GILF.
But you know what? This is how I look at it, right? So I've been in the business 30 years. And there's other women that are my age and they've been in the business for 10 years. And they are like on their first merry-go-round within the business. And when they hear that I've done GILF, they are just, flabbergasted, right? Like, I've been around 30 fucking years. What the fuck? I could care less, right? Like, it's like one of my best selling films had like toilet paper on my pussy, the entire freaking scene. You know, it's like you get to a point to where you're just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I've been seen every which way, back, forth, and around on camera for 30 years. I've been drunk. I've been sober. You know, whatever. You've seen me in every which position. Like, there's no way for me to look bad anymore. It's like I've looked bad. I've looked awful. I've looked wonderful. I've looked great. I mean, it's just, you know, it's 30 years of your life on camera. They're going to pick up everything. Would have been fat, would have been thin, you know, would have had plastic surgery. So, and especially now with social media where it's like every day of your life you're on social media. But yeah, you know, so I'm like, you know, I could care less, you know, after 30 years of being in the business, like doing a GILF scene. And I said to somebody else, I was like, you know what? Y'all should be thanking me for taking one for the team, because y'all motherfuckers ain't getting any younger, right? You've got millions of followers on Instagram. You ain't going anywhere, honey. You got to have some bitches like me that are willing to take one for the team, so that, yes, those of us that are getting older in the business, that perceptions of what a gilf is changes, right? Because back in the day, if you did like grandmother porn, it was like super creepy, right? But now, like I've done, it's called Perv Nana, and I even have my own
What are you even doing? Cutting crusts off sandwiches? Like, I can't even imagine what that would be.
oh my God, it's hilarious. And I've got like this old Jewish woman accent that I do as well, that I love. And I'm like always like, you know, it's my grandson and I'm making him do
Like, take off your shoes when you come in.
exactly, right, exactly. And I'm like, you know, making out with my grandson's like girlfriend, seeing if she's a hussy. Making her take
Oh
her
my
panties off to
God.
see if she's a hussy. Oh my God. I love it. I think
Oh,
it's
man.
hilarious, actually. I enjoy it because it's like, it's kind of like a little bit more like character acting to a certain extent, you know. Come to your
Yeah.
grandmother. Come on. I love it. It's funny.
Even though these people are like 18, you have to like, yeah.
Well, you know, and that's what I say to all of them. You know, some of these kids come up to me and I'm like, bitch, you know, I've been sucking cock on film longer than you've been alive. Talk to the hand, honey. Talk to
That's
the
how I feel. I feel like saying that sometimes just on Twitter to people. I'll be like,
like, you
look.
know what? Don't talk back to your mother, kid. Get back into your room. Go back with you and your TikTok into the back room and tell the
Yeah,
dog
get on your Snapchat, your TikTok, get your
ticky tock,
Chinese propaganda. Do you feel like, and I don't even know your politics, Brittany, but do you feel like your politics has ever come up with other performers, ever been an issue, been a thing, any sort of like cancellation that way?
Ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
um, yes. You know, and at the end of the day, I am a spiritual person, right? I don't understand how the other side thinks the way they do. I personally just think, okay, fine. I guess like one of the easiest ways for me to kind of reconcile is I know that even though I'm spiritual and loving and da 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 da, I can also be a selfish bitch, right? And I kind of feel like the other side, I feel like they're very selfish, right? And I'm like, okay, well, you can be selfish. They're being selfish, like on some level, because I don't think that all the separation and the hate is healthy. Like you've got to find some kind of common ground. You know, I do personally block consistently other people from the other side on my Facebook, because like my Facebook is like my my personal Facebook is like nothing but people I've actually really met in my real life, and I don't want that on my Facebook. I only want an echo chamber of my own beliefs because it's what makes me happy. But in general, I think it's important to have, you know, dialogue that does bring us together instead of separating us. And so when I am on sets with individuals that have different politics than I do, I just try to remind myself that I am a grown woman and I don't want to go to jail. And to stay civil. And you know, I can always shut up. I can walk out of the room. Because yes, you know, there definitely are women in this business that have a very different perspective than I do. I'm not going to jump and be their friends. And some of them I have. I'm like, you have gone way off. you've lost your mind, bitch. I can no longer like be friends with you anymore. It's not like I hate them or anything. I just, you know, I don't talk to them as much because they just have a different set of values than I do.
So it sounds like you're just live and let live, but you've noticed it. Maybe has it gotten more, I guess, has the Overton window shifted into, did you, when you started, was politics as important as it
No,
is now for
no.
adult workers?
No, politics is more, I mean, there's such a divide in our country right now. We're so close to a civil war that, yeah, it's never been, at least for myself. I've not seen anything like how it is now.
Have you ever gotten feedback from fans? Because I think I had a couple of friends tell me, like, okay, I don't talk about politics at all in my content because I don't want to alienate fans. Like, have you ever, and I don't know how outspoken you are about anything, but have you ever gotten feedback from fans like, oh, I was sort of out on the left or out on the right or whatever, and I actually like lost fans for it?
Well, and I'm sure that I have, but I think that a lot of fans understand that the sex worker community is a very diverse community with a lot of LGBTQ and a lot of diverse cultures in it. So that is going to have a tendency to make a lot of us lean towards the left. So I do think that a lot of fans kind of understand that we are a part of Hollywood. We're diverse, we're LGBTQ. We've got hairdresser. I mean, what would we do in porn without the gays?
No, no one would survive.
Exactly. So I think that a lot of fans, even if they might be on the right, they kind of like get it, right? They're like, oh, she's a sex worker. She's going to be on the left, da 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 da. So I just fall into the stereotype that they expect. So I think they kind of just brush it off to a certain extent, which I do appreciate because at times I do get pretty political on some of my social media, especially with the recent abortion stuff that's been going on.
With Roe v. Wade, you mean it's
Yeah.
that it came down to the states? Was there a big panic like, oh God, none of us can get abortions ever?
Well, even once again, going back to the condom thing, I've brought it up to the Free Speech Coalition that I feel as though there's a lot of women that come to California to shoot. And one of my girlfriends said, well, what am I supposed to do if I go back to Texas with the demon seed of a porn star inside of me and I can't get an abortion from working because I didn't get a choice to use a condom on set, So,
oh man. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you be on birth control then? Or maybe some people don't want to because it fucks with your hormones and your body overall.
Everybody's got their own reasons of how they do and why they do.
Yeah, it's tricky. From K-Max, for Brittany, does porn share a distaste for the mainstream media as Chrissie and our side does? The media has their narrative, and it is that porn is bad and the stars in it are bad.
Well, not all of it, there actually have been some really good pieces on sex worker rights. What was it? The Oliver, what's his show? Oliver
Stone?
Is it? No, not Oliver Stone. Oh, it was so good. Trevor Noah is always really good with sex worker rights as well. It's like an HBO one, and he did the most amazing piece on sex worker rights. It had me in tears. I made all my friends watch it. That was both on the right
John
and the left.
Oliver?
John Oliver, yes. He did the most amazing piece on sex worker rights. I do a lot of sex worker advocacy. I work with a lot of different groups doing advocacy for sex worker rights. And, he just had it right. I mean, he was listening to sex workers and what we've been saying about decriminalization, so forth and so on. So, I guess it just depends, where you're looking at. Obviously, I'm going to be looking towards things that, are things that, that promote my own healthy well-being, like sex worker rights. So, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Cool. Okay. Brittany. Oh my God, I just realized I have to pee real bad. Brittany, this flew by. I cannot believe it's been an hour and a half. You're so easy to talk to. Tell the good people what is coming up, where they can follow you, what's going on.
So what is coming up? Well, Christmas is coming up. And after that, we've got AVN in Vegas, then Internext in Vegas, then XBIZ. Then I'm going to be in LA after XBIZ, and I'm going to do some shoots while I'm there. I got a couple of people before AVN, in between Christmas and AVN, that I'm shooting with here that are international. But you can always find me every single day working really hard on my OnlyFans and my Fansly and like my mini vids and and I'm relaunching my personal website, BrittanyAndrews.com at
Ooh.
AVN. So I'm really excited about that. I've been working my ass off on getting that ready. So I'm super, super excited about launching my own website. It's been a really long time. So
Awesome. A lot of fans in the chat, a lot of people that are big fans of you, Brittany. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to the chat for your comments and questions. And everyone follow Brittany on all of her things. Check out her links. Everything will be in the description, and we will see you next time. Bye.